was gonna have the old fees.
And myself too.
Whoever was coming in was gonna have the new fees.
We'll get rid of some of the frivolous things we've got people, I'll just go apply and go in and get it, it takes up our time and stuff, and then they back away.
It really doesn't change much for the consumer, the applicant, because they paid anyway. They paid for the written decision. Joe just had the guts to go to the people we turned down and said, you owe us $800-900, even though we turned you down. I don't wanna rule that way. I don't want calling,
I don't think we should have to, I think this is a good way.
people, so now it's just incorporated into one fee.
But the issue still hasn't resolved, because this money is gonna go into the, I think they call it the reserve account, which goes
that what it is?
to the town, and we're gonna be depleting our other account.
Right.
What happened the last time, I ended up going before the finance committee, I got notified a
When I
day
was
or
sick,
two,
yeah.
a day or two beforehand, but I didn't have the numbers. We would've won that if we had the numbers of how much we spent the previous year,
Mhm.
how much it cost for Marguerite, how much it cost for other things, and we could've come up with probably a better figure, but we didn't have that. And you can't go before the finance committee and ask for more
Without
money
numbers.
without proof.
That's right.
And, there were other things that they brought up that,
Good answer.
we were gonna ask for $5,000 to have our stuff digitalized.
Right.
And apparently the building inspector had already incorporated that into his budget, so why are we asking for the $5,000 for that, so. I wasn't prepared for the meeting, and you're gonna be prepared when you're talking to the finance committee.
They deal with numbers.
That was all my fault. I was
I'm gonna say, in
chair
Peter's
and-
defense, he was, as we know.
We can correct this now.
No, absolutely, but I wanna make sure that everybody, and the finance committee is looking at the best interest for the town. They're not gonna just willy-nilly
Well,
give
I think in the
departments-
best interest of the town, if we could make this board run efficient on the funds it's taken, would take away from anything in the general fund and
It absolutely
this
makes
is better
sense.
for everybody. If you-
It makes sense that we keep the money that we come in, cause we're not
We
gonna
just
do it to
gotta convince
I was
ourselves.
just gonna say, how do they know, so it's all going to like a general fund?
correct.
The
So at
fees,
that point,
what
that
I've
just
been-
goes in, so nobody knows exactly what the zoning board's making versus what the next board's making, it just goes into one big thing.
Somebody's gotta know,
That's what I'm
and the
saying.
accountant's
Well-
gonna know what we give the accountant
no
for fees
books.
and
These
stuff
boards
like
are-
Well,
that.
no, the accountant does keep track of
Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
what
revolving.
comes in, where it's coming from. The planning board, through their history, have become self-supporting.
Mhm.
They have a revolving account. Money comes in, money goes out from.
Same account.
Right.
And it's used, been in the past used to help out and offset the federal, not the federal, but the budget, the town budget.
Well,
They've drawn money
just
from
like
it.
every year, what we don't spend
They're gonna
goes
do-
back to general fund
Well, they have to get the
anyway.
permission of the board to do it, I mean, but it has to be voted on.
One of the things that, I went to the department heads meeting, I don't know, was that September maybe?
Yeah, the last one.
And, what was brought up, what was suggested is that, and I'm not in favor of it necessarily, but that each case that comes before us, we set up a 53G account. So we tell them, you're gonna give us $1,500, if it's anything less, you're getting the money back plus the interest on it,
Mhm.
whatever. But that really is, we've had 16 cases of it, so that's 16 53G cases we would have, never mind.
That-
Right.
that's-
You gotta have
all
somebody
the other
taking
cases,
track
so-
of this too.
When
You
you asked
still
me
don't know your
earlier
problem.
what the planning board does, that's exactly what they do. But they handle these massive cases,
Yeah.
a 30 housing subdivision,
Right.
thousands are involved. We're dealing with 10, 20, $100. We're not,
Right.
as far as what might be left
We're
over.
usually just doing 2 lots, we're making one
Are
or 2.
are we gonna really ask Roz to
Do it
sit there
one.
now? And if you wanna go that route, then here's the second part of this evening's conversation is make it full-time. They don't wanna do that. So you can't have it both ways. So this is what you're seeing as far as the fee schedule. Nothing's changed since last August when we voted on it. There was just a question of whether or not it was officially voted, which I think it was. This is it.
You wanna call
This
for a
is
vote,
now
right?
gonna be, well, you as chairman tonight. The only thing, I had asked Roz to do is, if you look at this, fee, you see where it says project review? That has nothing to do with us. So if you can really put an X through it, that's the planning board. That's how they
That's their
determine,
fees, yeah.
1 to 15 unit, yeah.
they're fee-based. We don't do that, so,
If you look at our rules and regs, it lists that
right, I
with
understand that.
hours,
But it is not something we
we don't need it.
guide by. So when you hand out our list of rules and, fees, all you would hand out is this
Get rid of
part.
that. Okay.
The bottom part is gonna be confusing for anybody that's in front of us, especially if you have, I'm one unit, so are you charging me $4,000?
More than
So,
15, yeah.
but it's because they're, the planning board, it's separate from what we do.
Okay.
So, keep it simple as far as that goes. So, Bob, if you don't mind, my thought would be, that you, call for a motion to accept this, fee schedule as written. We will record it with, it'll be seconded, we'll record it with the town clerk tomorrow morning. No fee figure has changed, it's just making sure that the
Right,
vote
I'll
is
call for a
official.
motion.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we reaffirm these, fees, for the zoning board of appeals, with the exception of the project review fees being taken off of this, list.
Okay.
No change in the fees.
I will second that, motion.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Do you want me to make a copy of that without that and the board sign it? Or we
There's
just
no
stamp it
reason
tomorrow?
for the board to have to sign anything.
Okay.
It's,
Motion made.
now what you should do is, however you make it nice, if you hand these out, I don't know what, or you post it somewhere, it's just, you can put it on town letterhead, that these are our fees, but without that,
Okay.
project size.
Now, do we also have to act on the revised rules and regulations?
Well, I
Because
think
it's-
that's what Roz was referring to,
Because
because
it's too
if you do look under, I don't know if you guys read the notes that she sent out.
I give everybody.
This here is, how you go about changing your fees, which is what we just did. Mass law says, like what Bob was referring to earlier. I'm going to now, Bob, ask you, I would like to send a letter to the selectmen. I don't know why we were taken off. Ken was told, but it wasn't explained to as to why. What is the interest, why does the town care how we go about, setting up our funds? If they really wanna push a 53G, then the flip side of that is you're gonna have a full-time secretary. And, you, as she will give you her speech in a minute, you're gonna have to go up to the level 6, not the level 4 that she's paid at.
Peter, did we have to have a certain amount of signatures to get that on that special town meeting?
Did we have, no,
Okay, 'cause some
how,
are
because
required.
we are an appointed board.
Right.
We're not elected, so it's different than the planning board. Because we're appointed, we don't have the authority to just put something on the town warrant. We have to ask the selectmen to do it for us. So that's why they have the authority just to take it off, with
No reason.
no
No reason
reason.
given.
That doesn't sound very good.
It
Well,
doesn't sound right,
yeah.
but
I think
We are
before we
appointed.
take any,
They chose to have us here.
take any action, it really has to be clarified, because at this, and you were there, in fact, you had to answer some of the questions. I was told by the accountant that we don't have to put the money in the reserves, which is contrary to what she had told me earlier. And that we can put it in, is it the project, what's the other, and then we-
Professional and technical.
and then we can take the money out of there, but when I spoke to her, it was either before or after, the annual town meeting, was that, oh no, the money
Good.
has to go into that account and you can't touch that. And I said, well, what's gonna happen is every special town meeting, we're gonna go before the town and ask for these
Right.
fees back. So one of the selectmen at this meeting suggested that, only because I was there, she says, well, we gotta set up a meeting with Jen, me, and this select person said, and I wanna be there also to see if we can resolve this. So, Peter should go to that meeting, and I don't know if I can go, can I go also?
You can,
I can go also, yes. We both got the same message earlier,
Right.
and at this particular meeting, and I did question her on it, that this is not what you had told me earlier. So
This is administrative, you should.
They
well, I
had,
think
Anybody.
we need to sit down and resolve this. There's gonna be some way that we can do this.
I think somebody somewhere is making it more complicated than it has to be. I had asked Roz, to send a letter to Nancy Goulart, this select woman, to, we can put her on our November agenda. The reason why it should be put on our agenda is, it's a board decision. The board should be involved, and it should be on TV. It's not something that you sit behind closed doors and make it look like you're working out some kind of a deal. Explain to me and the community why you wanna do it this way. So maybe some things are uncomfortable. If there are, then let's get it out in the open.
Might take away why it's being so complicated, cause this, to me, isn't very
It is,
complicated.
but she told me, as long as we can put it in a revolving account, as long as I get my $350 for every application in general fund. And it's like, well, why do you care? And I don't understand that. And now she's obviously told Ken.
Because it doesn't defer anything as far as keeping the,
No, what's
staying
gonna
within
happen
the levy
is
limit or anything.
before our budget season ends, our professional and technical fees will be at zero. And we're gonna come into next July saying we're gonna have prior year's bills. That's embarrassing for two reasons. It makes it look like we don't know how to budget, and two, we're gonna hold bills that we owe David Gay and Marguerite and anybody else that we've asked for, because we don't have the funds to pay them, even though the town has the funds. Legally, you can't pay them until
It's
it's approved, and I don't know, that's embarrassing.
And it gets very complicated. At this particular meeting, one of the selectmen asked me a question. So you're charging, say, $750 for a variance, and it costs you only $400 for the attorney. Are we returning the money? And I said, absolutely not. So then I was questioned then, so they're paying for somebody else that might cost more? I said, this is the fee we charge.
Mhm.
We're putting in an account. When somebody gets a negative thing, sometimes they don't pay it, and as you know,
Right.
goes, this is the way to resolve that. And it's a fee that everybody comes before us pays for a variance. That doesn't even
It's
include,
to most towns.
that doesn't include the money that they're paying us,
Right.
the money they're paying Roz to go through all the paperwork and everything else, so these are all reasonable fees.
Right.
I know some people aren't happy with it, but these are reasonable fees.
Did we
Sounds
base
to me
these
like they
fees
want
on
a way of
other
getting
towns
at that
too?
extra
Excuse
money.
me.
When this came about, we looked around different towns and
We
we
did.
based it upon a neutral.
The problem with when it's not
can't do
always
40
apples to
Bs.
apples.
I know, we talked about.
The reason being is, okay, everybody compares us to Berkeley,
We're not.
Rehoboth. Two things, you're talking about different growth rates, different, population, land mass, yes, but one town's growing faster than the other. But two, do they have a town attorney? Maybe a town attorney that they split with Somerset. So, for example, we don't have an engineer. Peter Williams, we refer to, so does the planning board. But the city of Fall River has 4 engineers on their payroll. So you can't compare and say what
But
another
we did a
community
study on our own,
does.
based on how many 40Bs we were doing, how many
Right.
hours we were putting in.
Right.
I remember that whole
Some
conversation.
boards are elected, some boards are appointed, I mean, it's a whole different.
The finance committee, Ed Schwartz, wanted to tell me that the zoning board of appeals in Rainham, I guess one of his friends, they don't get anything. We get a $1,200 a year stipend, and I said, okay, I don't know what they do. I don't know how many 40Bs they hear at one time. Is it 1 a year? Is it 2 a year? When I go prepared with my numbers, you, on the zoning board of appeals, you better be prepared with your numbers. In other words, if you're going to call these communities and say, Somerset pays this, Rehoboth pays this, where are the notes that said, this is when you called, this is who you talked to, I shared it with these other members? Or are you just sitting at a table saying, well, Rehoboth or Rainham, they do it for free?
My understanding,
When Somerset Woods
Somerset
is gonna be back very soon.
They're the same.
There's 6 of us, who wants to spend 2 hours extra a week here, at nighttime, most like 3 hours, knowing that there's gonna be another 40B right behind them and they're gonna overlap? We're not doing it we never did it thinking we were gonna be there for all this time. So I don't care that Rainham doesn't get paid. Maybe they don't do any 40Bs. Maybe it's a planning board that does it. So you can't go from community to community. So when we call Swansea, which we did, and they got 300 and change for zoning board of appeals, Swansea has their own attorney.
Again.
They never have it written out, they had their own engineer, they
Right.
never have to go to an outside source.
But we did our own
source.
little study to determine what we were gonna have this make out work with.
Right, what I took was what Marguerite, okay, Gay and Gay, what their bills were
Right.
for us for 2 years. And then it was determined that, okay, on average, they charge us X amount of dollars to write a decision. A decision that none of us here, I don't wanna insult anybody, has the time or probably the intelligence to write it out so that it's ironclad, so it will pass in appeals.
How many times we sit in a meeting, and we were going back and forth with two lawyers, and it's
Yeah.
like,
You wrote this, you wrote this.
So that is it, that is the part C as well.
So who are you planning on inviting then to our next ZBA meeting?
Well, I was told that the accountant and Nancy Goulart wanted to sit and talk with me. And I said to Roz, invite them to the November meeting. We'll put them first on our agenda so they
Right.
can get out of here.
That's
But
fine
it
with me.
should be at our
Because I
meeting.
really think we should explain that to them,
Yeah.
because as a board, I think we have a pretty good understanding as to what, the way we wanna go.
Yeah.
And I think the revolving account is in the best interest of the town. Because
Yeah.
we'll have money
Yeah.
available. Now, if they wanted to purge this every 5 years or something,
Yeah.
I mean, so that we don't get too much money and offset the budget, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
The
However
thing
they
is,
wanna work it out.
Nothing changes. The
Nothing.
dollar at the end of the year is gonna be the
Still-
exact same thing.
Right.
Now, I will be honest with you, could I write it? Yes. Am I going to take 5 hours
You're
a
paid to
week
be.
out of my time to write the decision equivalent to what Marguerite can do in all
You still
30
have to
minutes?
review it anyway, wouldn't you?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Because
Then
I will
wouldn't you
never
have to
be
review it?
ironclad like she is, and she'd have to review it.
And you'd have to pay her anyway.
Yes. And they didn't wanna give us the raise, okay, I think, Bob, if you wanna continue, Roz, has something under old business.
So we're going to invite them.
Yes,
At the next meeting, we have to put that, you wanted permission to write a letter, I'm not.
well, the commission was to ask why can't we,
But we'll have to resolve.
we'll have that resolved here in front of us.
The problem with inviting them to a meeting is they have a Board of Health meeting on the third Wednesday of every month. That's when they meet
Which is
now.
our meeting,
Do we have a special meeting though?
I'm just gonna say, can we have a special?
What is,
Do we come in early that night?
we don't have,
6:30.
what is
Their meeting starts at
Tuesday,
6:30, I think.
what is Tuesday, the 18th of November? What do we have, I'm sorry, what do we have for November besides Mr. Souza and I think there's another solar and then we have, school
School Street, I'm not sure if she's going to get her
Back
site
together in
plan.
time.
And we have our zoning meeting on the
Right.
18th?
There is
Well, that's what I'm
another-
saying, there's no reason why we can't, in time, say November's
Notify the other
meeting
people.
is on Tuesday.
Well,
It's
so-
just notifying Mr. Souza,
Just so you know, the 18th is a Friday, so let's just say.
well, whatever the Tuesday.
Okay, so the Tuesday that we're talking about,
15th, is that
I
what
think
it
it's
is?
a 15th.
that's fine with me.
We just, we would come here on Tuesday night, we're
What's
asking to get
November
something on
15th? Why does
Montauk.
that sound familiar?
I
What is
don't know.
that?
No, it isn't the election day, that's the week before.
Alright.
Yeah.
Unless you're Trump and.
Veterans Day, Veterans Day the 11th, the Friday before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't see anything on
Alright.
so, okay, do you wanna make, Bob, a motion to have the next
All right, I'll
ZBA
make a
meeting on
motion
the?
that we, on, the November meeting be on Tuesday, November 15th at 7 o'clock.
So we're not having two separate meetings that
No.
week, so we have one meeting.
And then, I'll second that motion.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
What if for some reason the accountant or the selectman can't make it that day?
And the other problem is that we've told the petitioner here to be here on the 19th, which
Ah.
means the public has
Heard that.
The
heard
16th.
that and they won't know we changed.
Is
the
there a
date.
problem with having the meeting earlier on the 16th?
We told
Yeah,
them they meet at
6:30.
6:30.
6:30, I
Maybe
believe,
it's
the Board of Health,
Let's
6:30.
do this, nothing's gonna change overnight. We can do this, Stonegate, has asked to come back, not Stonegate, Somerset Woods, has asked to come back. We can, schedule them, the selectmen the same night. And just have them come in 10 minutes,
So, when you say Stonegate, is it the realtor?
Somerset Woods.
Somerset Woods, is it the real estate people? Cause I got a call
Yeah, there
from
was a
somebody
new
who's selling
broker.
that property.
Yeah, yes, they wanna come in and talk to the board about, the 40B being, part of, it doesn't have to be by law, part of, the sale of the property
Did it go past the 3 years?
as,
2 years?
no, as well as adding, this property in the back that they wanna add to it.
To the project?
The project.
It constitutes a major change.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know,
Oh, so
I'm not real familiar with that.
Yeah, no, I got a phone call from the real estate agent who's trying to sell it, and he asked me, what do I think, would be the best use of that land? I suggested a park with trails.
Well, let's not
And
go-
donate it to the town.
Your chickens.
Chickens, but that's not gonna happen, so
What does he wanna do, build more houses?
I told him, and I spoke only for myself, I said, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm not speaking for the town, I personally would prefer not apartments, but maybe a development, you know, before the planning board, blah, 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 doesn't necessarily have to be a 40B, or whatever else, because right now, isn't it in limbo now because of the appeal, they haven't come back with a new plan as to how they're gonna deal with the wetlands and stuff, so.
They have a new layout.
Well, that's substantial, so.
Yeah.
Huge.
Oh, it's a major change.
Yeah.
So reopen the whole case.
Yeah, pretty
Well, one will
much.
So we can
nullify the
decide
other.
on that.
Yeah, so we don't have to act on, Nancy Goulart and all that this evening. Like I said, our bills are covered.
Lady upstairs now?
Do we, wanna find out?
It's awesome.
Not kidding. Can you shoot him in the foot?
Ready to do this.
Should we invite them, find out what's convenient for them, to meet with us?
in the wrong room or something? What the heck?
No, they're in the wrong room.
They're in the wrong,
They're in the
they took it
wrong
over.
room.
You guys trumped us
Remember that
tonight.
movie, with Al Capone when they switched juries on him?
JFK.
I'm not prepared tonight.
No, that's Jim.
All right.
So,
That's fine.
let's not, I think, we voted the fees in, it's official.
Yes.
Maybe after we can talk about the logistics of getting them in. Roz wants to talk about,
Well, one thing before, the rules and regs, do we
Yes.
need to have a hearing and post that? Like the last page of that rules and regs, if
We've
I'm
already adopted this, haven't we?
reading it, well, if you read the last couple of sentences, it says it needs a public hearing for change in.
Amendment shall be preceded by a public hearing before they shall take effect. But what amendments have we changed?
nothing has changed, Roz.
Yeah.
So the fees wouldn't be considered,
No.
But the fees
Oh,
are already,
okay.
yeah.
All we did is officially vote, because we don't know if we officially voted last time.
but we did change the fees from 300 to 750.
A year
That
ago.
hadn't been revised before. That I didn't know even needed to be. So that just got revised from the 300 to the 750. Like, we didn't have a hearing a year ago.
Then you have to do what the selectmen do, which is post, a public hearing.
Well, was any of the fees on the agenda, which is public, right?
Yeah,
Any
a
of the
year ago.
fees, was it an agenda item?
Yes. It was a year ago when, or July or September of last
Mhm.
year, when,
We
it was
discussed it.
September, no, before that, when we, had on our agenda, me telling you guys, about the fee increase. I think it was July.
I'm just not sure. I haven't been here before to do this. I wanna make sure I'm doing it correct.
You know what, I have to call Marguerite about across the street anyway, I'll ask her.
Okay, when she sent me that, rules and regs, she said, the one she sent me was back from 2000.
Right, I saw that today,
And she said,
revised.
I found the revised one in the clerk's office when I went looking, before she got that to me. So it was revised in 2010.
Okay, so amendments shall be preceded by a public hearing before they shall take effect. We had a public hearing, here last year, when we officially, well, I presented my argument to everybody why the fees, this is what they should be.
Oh, okay,
So
so it's
that was
not,
Was it on the agenda? I think we need to know that.
Yeah, it was.
Cause it was on the agenda, then it was,
As far as I'm
then it
concerned, it's
was,
public.
right.
It was
Anybody-
on the agenda.
I
We talked-
It was, because I talked to Roz about the agenda with my notes, all the time. So I knew what I wanted to present.
And it
So
wasn't
it
something
would have
we
been
just
on.
did out of the spur of the moment either.
I can pull out the agenda from a year ago and
Right.
just clarify that for everybody.
I don't know
Okay,
why
well,
these
right
things
now,
have to be
let's
this
continue, I don't wanna
complicated.
get hung up. We have officially voted on these prices. It's not, it hasn't changed. It is, everybody knows here why, regardless of what the back end is as to what it kinda goes to, is something we can get worked out.
Hey, do you wanna take another vote so it is official? We have every member here now.
We did.
I hope we did.
I made a motion, so we did.
Yeah, okay, and I
It means
seconded
that
it,
we,
and, so just call for all in favor.
yeah, we voted on it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This meeting's getting out, I'm just gonna shut the door, so that probably
Yeah.
take-
Under old business, right,
Yeah, we do discuss clerical hours and responsibilities.
We got a meeting going on, gentlemen, ladies.
and
Just do anything to get on TV.
Oh, okay.
So what do you wanna get to the clerical hours?
Yes.
Old business?
Well, this is, while Roz is getting her thoughts together, I'll talk to you about Stonegate. I don't know if you guys remember, I know Ken is aware of it. We had a 25-foot no-cut buffer zone around the entire project. Reason being, first and foremost, was, I don't know if you remember Mr. Chavez across the street.
Shops.
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 We were in the process of taking his property. I believe the town was, or certainly with liens and fees and fines, because he was running a business out of his house. One of the things that was agreed upon was that there would be, that was part of the reason for having a no-cut 25-foot buffer zone. Now, the reason why I'm saying no-cut, because that is the term that's come into play. Jim Aguirre didn't understand at the time what no-cut actually meant. No-cut buffer zone means it's a no-cut buffer zone. You can't go in there, cut the grass, cut the trees, do anything. It's gotta be left undisturbed. And that was because of Mr. Shav's property. It was one of the things that we agreed upon because he was in the process of selling it to his son. Also, at that time, we had agreed to plant, they agreed to plant arborvitaes on the north side of the entrance. That changed at a subsequent meeting to the white vinyl fence, which is what you see there now. When Mr. Fedorov built a house, just so happens he encroached on the house by 20-some-odd% is actually built into the no-cut buffer zone. Jim didn't pick it up. I didn't pick it up. The bank